Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome to another transmission of Ill Communications. Ill Comms. It's Ill Comms. Today, we got a good show going for you. I'm Ryan. Welcome to the show.
I'm Andy, and this is our guest today is Jon Orton, longtime friend. This is a reconnect kind of transmission. Jon used to book shows for Die Hard Youth back in the day when we go up to Seattle. Hooked us up, and it was cool to reconnect with him a couple months ago on Instagram. Just randomly started chatting, and then definitely one of the first people I wanted to do once we got this this little show going. So how you doing, Jon?
I'm good, man. I'm good. It's nice to see you because I mean, like you said, we reconnected on Instagram, but this is like the first, I guess, like pseudo face-to-face chat we've had in a long time.
For sure. Like you said, you're definitely a lot fitter. Definitely gonna break some bones, man. Looking fit, dude. Fighting weight. You're in your fighting weight.
A buddy of mine says I'm half the size but twice the man, and I go with that. I'm literally half the size I used to be.
Dang, that's awesome, man. Good for you, man. Good on you.
Thanks, man. I appreciate it. Somebody said, I don't remember, I bought something from somebody on Discogs or something, and they wrote like the artist formerly known as Big Jon or something like that. And like, I was always Big Jon Seattle or Big Jon Straight Edge, or I was, one of those. You're looking like a lot of like releases from like the, mid 90s, and you see Big Jon Seattle. And
that's what I remember you as Big Jon Seattle. Like, that might have been your email. I don't even remember, dude. Or
I actually think it was. Yeah, I think that was like my first ever email. Like mine was actually Big Jon Seattle, and not something like super embarrassing, like black crying candy razor blades 666 or something like that. So I'm an early 90s hardcore kid, not a 2000s kid. So
right, yeah.
Sure. Though it was X Big Jon Seattle X. So.
I definitely remember that. I'm an old Hotmail account. And you played in Left for Nothing.
Cool band. I played in Left for Nothing. I played in a few other bands, but I mean that was really the only one that really did anything. But yeah, that was. I mean, if anybody was going to find anything that I was on, that would be the one. That was. Like,
I don't know if you played with you up there. I saw you down here a couple of times with I remember the band for sure.
Yeah. I played in Left for Nothing. It was towards the end. I actually moved down here, and they broke up for a little while and then kind of got back together for a bit.
Okay.
And when they got back together, that's when the drummer and the bass player, Nikki and Brian, also started playing in Trial.
Oh, so wow.
That sort of more or less kind of ended Left with Nothing's like, I mean, everybody else kind of went on to do other bands too. Nobody's really doing anything now except for Jesse, the guitar player. He's now the guitar player in Noise, the street punk oi band.
Oh, rad.
Yeah, like they're in. I think. So I was gonna say it's kind of hard for me to be unbiased, but I didn't even realize he was in the band when I got into the band. But they're honestly, as far as like American like punk rock bands go, they're probably like the best band going out there right now. Like they're an awesome band.
I haven't heard them, to be honest, so I'll check them out.
Yeah, Noise with Noise NOI apostrophe, the Noise. See what they did there?
Oh yeah. I get it.
Yeah, they got some stuff records, and Jesse also runs a recording studio called the Autopsy Room. Pretty much any of like the punk or hardcore or like a lot of the metal albums that come out of like the Seattle area, he's behind the board on those too.
Oh, cool.
He was on Left for Nothing also.
So what brought you down to California when you moved?
I was actually born here. I was born in Bakersfield. And was up in Seattle for a while. And,
just like us.
It's a vortex. You get out. It's like Godfather 3. You know, pull you back in.
Yeah.
I came down just for like a visit, just kind of hang out for a while, and I didn't realize like how burnout I was on the rain and just being there. And so I just like, I'm gonna hang out down here for a while, and it's been 15, 20 years or something like that.
That's crazy, man. I wish we would have known years ago. We could have been hanging out the whole time.
Yeah, seriously. Yeah, because I mean, I don't hang out with people here in Bakersfield. It's like I'm friends with a lot of the same people that I met
right
25 years ago at Chain Reaction and Showcase. So if I hang out with anyone, it's it's a 2-hour drive down to Orange County or something. So, and Bakersfield has never really been like a thriving hardcore scene. I don't know if you remember, like when I moved down here, I tried to put on a couple of shows, and it's like it just didn't work. Like they just and like the bands I tried to do shows with, like it was like 18 Visions and like Death by Stereo and bands like that. And it's just I mean, it just didn't work. But I don't know. I'm stubborn. So, you know, honestly, like when things open up again and when we're able, I've really been wanting to try it again. So probably
let me know. Let me know. I'm down to help out.
Yeah, we'll do that because I don't know. I heard this band; they're all right. Heard they're a bunch of dicks though. Ill Communication.
Total dicks.
The thing is, I actually came across
those guys.
No idea, like literally, seriously, having no idea who was in the band. I was like, dude, I really like this, and then it's like, dude, you know what? I want to do something. I want to put on a record. I want to do something, and I think it was. I don't remember who I hit up. Was it you?
You hit the Instagram, and Joe, the bass player, he's the first one. And he said, hey. Because he doesn't like to talk to people because he's antisocial. So he's like, hey, I gotta talk to these people. And I'm like, all right, heck yeah. So, and then once you said your name, I'm like, man, that name's so familiar. But I'm like, no, he doesn't live in, I don't know anyone that lives in Bakersfield. That just threw me off, man.
Yeah. No, you know, when there would be shows here, you know, I just kind of be that weird dude hanging out in the back, you know? So,
we've probably been in the same shows, hanging out in different corners in the back.
I'm sure we have. So
I'm
going to hardcore shows. It's just kind of. I mean, I've never stopped doing hardcore. You know, just kind of always been the thing.
Yeah, I remember going to a terror show a couple years back, and it was like, man, I didn't know anybody, and I'm just like, oh, this is so weird.
Yeah, it is.
I imagine it's kind of that double-edged sword. Like you don't recognize anybody, but at the same time, you're kind of hyped that there's people there, like for something like a terror show.
Yeah. Like actually, the last show before everything shut down was Madball at Jerry's Pizza, and I live literally like 4 minutes from Jerry's Pizza.
Nice.
Like I'm at that age. Like I seriously, it's like I like literally 4 minutes from Jerry's Pizza, and I'm super stoked for the show. But then like it's like an hour before the show starts, and I'm like, man, do I really want to go? Man, it's all the way down there. I gotta leave the house. I gotta put shoes on. But yeah, no, I went, and again, like same thing. I was stoked because you know there's people for you know a hardcore show on like a Wednesday night, and at the same time, like you hardly. I knew maybe like 10 people, if that. Which at the same time I'm oddly cool with because I've got the whole like antisocial thing too. So.
Yeah, Jerry's Pizza still rules, man. I'd love to play there again. That was always a fun spot, I think.
Yeah, I remember seeing some. I was trying to think of some of the crazy bands that I saw there, and like we get like even when I didn't live here, I never played there. It was weird. We had a show booked there, and we showed up, and there was just like some other show going on, and I just happened to know the guy that was running the show, and he's like, well, you know, you guys can play. I can't really pay you, but maybe like you'll sell some merch or something. We didn't really have any merch, and like once we saw the other bands that were playing, we realized they're not going to be into us. This is not going to be worth like unloading our van and everything else. So we didn't even play. That's the closest I ever came to playing Jerry's. So,
well, let's start a band, and we'll make it happen.
I'm absolutely going to hold you to that. So I'm sitting in a room here, like filled with like musical equipment that I do nothing with. So. I'm becoming like a musical cat lady. It's like I'm just hoarding gear and doing nothing with it.
Oh, well, let's make something happen, man.
I'm all about it, man.
Heck yeah. And now you're in Bakes, working, and you have kids, right?
Yeah, I have kids. My kids are all grown. Actually, today is my daughter's second anniversary. It's her second wedding anniversary. Yeah, my kids are back up in Seattle. They just couldn't hang with the heat here. Yeah, they just hated the heat.
Okay.
And yeah, like I say, my daughter, it's her, her second wedding anniversary today. So
congrats, man. That's rad, dude.
Yeah, that's awesome. I'm sure I'll send her the link to this. So happy anniversary to Kayla and Krista. So
there you go.
Yeah.
Heck yeah.
Yeah.
This transmission is brought to you by It's Alive Fanzine. That music you just heard was Down the Street by Annihilation Time, off their self-titled full-length with Nardcore legend Fred Hammer on the mic. Annihilation Time CDs and massive It's Alive posters with gnarly art are available now. Direct message at It's Alive Fanzine on Instagram for details.
Right on, man. Well, let's jump into these records. We'll go with what you picked first. If you want to lay it out.
Yeah. So I'm gonna grab it. So this is one I picked. Undertow. This is their discography called Everything, which is literally everything they did, but that's also the name of a song. Indecision Records put it out. And something I noticed when I was listening to this that I never noticed before. So the track listing goes in reverse order from when everything was released. So like the first few tracks are their last LP that they released.
Okay.
And then like the last tracks are like kind of like their demo. It's been a long time. I wanted to do this one because it's one of those bands I wasn't sure if I could listen to it objectively without putting like my emotion, without putting attaching all my memories to it, because we all have that band that was like a central part of like our kind of hardcore formative years. And one of those for me is Instead, from when I lived in California. Another one is Undertow. So it was, I had to take a step back and listen to it really objectively for the first time. And I think it's a really interesting snapshot for a time in hardcore that was really transitional.
Yeah, I understand.
Yeah, Undertow, they were it was about 93 to 96. So they didn't have a really they're around longer than that, but that was their peak production period. And you can definitely hear the transitions from where they started to where they ended up. But I never really understood what people meant when they said Seattle sound. Because everybody who talks about the grunge thing and all that. I lived in Seattle then. The grunge scene was not a thing. That didn't happen. There was not a grunge scene in Seattle. Alice in Chains and Nirvana and all Pearl Jam, all those bands didn't play together. That wasn't a thing.
Right.
But Seattle's just always been a big music city, a music town. But it's everything. The music you make is going to be influenced by your environment. And Seattle is a wet, dreary place. And I can hear that. I can hear that in, I can definitely hear the correlation between Undertow and then something like the Melvins. There's, I can hear it. There's a sludginess and a slow, heaviness. And you can definitely tell. I think it was a really good, indication of where hardcore was going, because not long after that, that's when bands like Dead Guy and Kiss It Goodbye, bands like that, the Noisy Chaotic thing, Turmoil, that's when those bands really started to kind of become the bands that everybody emulated. And I think Undertow was kind of a step ahead on that one. But
I don't know much about Undertow. I mean, I had heard them back in the day, and I'm pretty sure I saw them when I lived up in NorCal.
They toured quite a bit.
Probably didn't pay too much attention to them because they're probably at that time I loved Ignite and Redemption 87. So it was. They
might have been. So that's the thing. They weren't metal. They're not metal. They're not one of those.
No, they're just heavy. Even Strife was too heavy for me.
Yeah, they're not. Yeah, that's the thing. It's that's something unique about them. It's they can be. They're heavy, but they're not metal. And I don't think it's because I know the guys. I know the stuff that they were listening to at the time. They weren't metal kids at all. They weren't into metal. And again, I think the heaviness just comes from where we were from at the time and the environment that we were in, just in a dreary, the weather in Seattle, the environment is heavy. So, that comes out in music, I think.
The name Undertow is awesome. Just to me, what you're talking about, kind of the name fits perfectly.
Mm-hmm.
I felt it was if Unbroken and Chain of Strength had a baby. That's actually really good. And honestly, and I would throw something like the Melvins in there too, or maybe
even some Black Sabbath, just for because there's a heaviness to it.
Right.
And I think that's good though. I think that's pretty accurate. If Unbroken and Chain of Strength had a baby, that's pretty accurate.
Yeah. Dude, yeah. I'll be honest. This is actually one of those instances where I get slapped in the face and reminded that I don't know anything about music, because for whatever reason, I think I had some like early preconceptions of what Undertow was going to sound like without ever actually listening to them.
Mhm.
And like, I think because of the Seattle type connection, I like assumed like they sounded like Botch, which is another band I probably need to go back and listen to, because I just never really gave it a chance at the time. But having listened to it like now, I'm like, how could I have slept on this? Because it's like you really catch that chain of strength type like influence. So I was listening to it, I was like, what does this sound like? It sounds like something that I've listened to before. And yeah, you get a heavy chain of strength influence, but you also can see the influence that Undertow had on other bands sound. Like there's riffs that I hear and I'm like, I'm pretty sure Bane had something like that on their first 7-inch, or Trial did something like this. You know, it's all kind of full circle where you can see what influenced them, but also what they influenced. And I really, really liked this discog. It's really cool. I need to listen to it more because I was blown away.
That's awesome. Yeah, that's absolutely true. I mean, it was really easy because for me to hear that influence, like the first Bane 7-inch, and we're before this whole thing, so we're talking about Countervail. There were a lot of bands that were coming up in like the late 90s, early 2000s, Bane being one. Trying to think of some others. You mentioned Trial, Strain was another one. But yeah, the Undertow influence was definitely really strong. Strife, sort of in some of their like older stuff, you can definitely hear like the influence. And then they had like the bands that were coming out of Jersey, like out of Resurrection, like after like the 90s, like Judas Factor. I'm drawing a blank on them, but there was a crop of bands for a while that like you could really hear like that Undertow influence. But I think Bane is definitely like the biggest, the one that stuck around the longest, and that especially when they don't follow like the typical songwriting structure. Bane never had like that verse, chorus. Yeah. And Undertow, I think, is one of the, definitely can't say the first, but I think one of the hardcore bands that had the most output that sort of, did that. So I can kind of see where I think it's really easy to draw like a direct correlation from Undertow to Bane.
Now, did Undertow tour a lot?
They did, yeah. They toured quite a bit. They would do a lot of like West Coast things where they drive down the West Coast like just for a weekend, and they bring like 50 or 60 Seattle kids with them. But they did a lot of they did quite a few shows on the Snapcase. That's another one. Like the Undertow influence is definitely clear, especially the stuff that Snapcase did after Looking Glass Cell, Steps, and all of that. Bright Flashes, when they before they went kind of full Deftones territory. I can hear Undertow in that too. I was always sort of able to, but yeah, they did do a lot of stuff on the East Coast. I still got some flyers somewhere with Undertow and Strife, and even though they were West Coast, but they Mouthpiece, that was another band they played with a lot. Mouthpiece.
There's some Mouthpiece vibes in their band. Like they'd fit well together, I think. Yeah, they played together like quite a bit, and there's something similar about even those Mouthpieces all the way out in New Jersey and Undertow's here. And I mean, aside from them being around at the same era, there's not really a whole lot of similarities that you can just like directly point to, but there's some sort of similarity there in like the sound. Yeah, maybe the vocals too. It might sound a little bit like Tim McMahon or whatever, but yeah, I dig all the little guitar tricks too. They do the little slides, and like on I think it was a Control, maybe it has that like the weird.
Yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about. The sort of wheedly kind of.
Yeah, it's bad. I like that a lot. They do a lot of stuff like that.
And this is just sort of like a random like factoid, just from kind of being a part of the scene at the time. So the guy that produced that record was Clint Warner, the guitar player from Seaweed. Yeah. So if you don't know Seaweed, they're amazing, totally underrated band. But that little trick that he does is the exact same thing that Randy Rhoads does at the beginning of Crazy Train. He's just sort of running his hand down the neck and then the pick up to higher strings.
Yeah.
So Clint's like, hey, check this out. It's a Randy Rhoads thing. That's where they came from. But because Mark was just doing like random, the guitar player at the time was just doing like random noise stuff. Because that's, again, it was sort of a precursor to, Dead Guy and like the heavy No Escape, the band No Escape, Tim Singer. That's where that came from. Like that No Escape influence is really, really apparent, and especially those later Undertow songs. But he was just trying to do like noisy, chaotic guitar stuff. And Clint, the guitar player from Seaweed's like, hey, do this Randy Rhoads thing. So
yeah, you can see where bands took that and ran with it.
Yeah.
Took it, times to 11,
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Yeah. Undertow was, I don't want to say the other bands did it better because it was a different thing for a different time.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Yeah. And that No Escape band has a new record coming out, huh?
Mm-hmm.
L-Minded?
Yeah.
Super cool.
Yeah, I think it's L-Minded. Yeah.
Yeah, those are guys, that label seems really cool.
Yeah.
So check that out. Buy one. All right, well, let's rate this record then, man. You want to go first, John? Off our rating,
Yeah, let me pull up rating scale, make sure I got it right. So I'm honestly really torn on this one. So
real quick, let me preface.
Okay.
Since this is hardcore, like I know you said you're taking a step back and you want to listen to it, but like I know in the past episodes, there's only a couple online yet, but like a big thing always for me and Ryan is always like the live experience and seeing a band or hearing a band or being around them. So you don't have to judge the record on just purely recording whatever. If you want to throw, you're passionate about like, hey man, I was there. That's why they're so important to me. Like, and it'll be more important to you than to me or Ryan or someone else. But to me, that's a big part of hardcore, So
yeah, it's not so objective.
Dive deep or whatever.
Okay, so that being said, before we get into the races real quick, I want to get into the lyrics. So at the time, I mean, it's still, I can't even say at the time, just in general, some of these lyrics on this record are some of the most, like, they're intensely personal.
Oh, the song Noose is crazy. Like,
the lyrics are intensely personal. And John Pettibone, who I still think to this day is one of the best frontmen in music, period, not just hardcore. Like that guy would literally, I mean, I shouldn't say literally, figuratively, like bleed on stage. It's like after he would perform, after Undertow would play, you would just kind of leave him alone because he would need a minute. Like after, shouting these words, like these lyrics actually meant something. Yeah. And I can't tell you, I mean, for me, the song Stalemate, it was actually off, it's on this is, discography, but it was off one of the early 7-inches. It's one of those songs, like still to this day, when I was listening to this today, still gives me goosebumps. Some like really intense lyrics that I think are really like highly relatable. Even though, they're 25 years old, still intensely personal and totally relatable.
It's hardcore though, stands the test of time.
Exactly. Yeah. So that being said, the fact that, I can take my own personal experience and, run with that. So, I got to say, I got to put this in, Believe the Hype. I think this is definitely a should own. I mean, I can't put this in, Age of Pearl, Bringing It Down, Minor Threat discography level, but I mean, it's a definite should own. Not only is it like a good snapshot for that period in time in hardcore when things were really transitional, but like you said, it stands the test of time. I can't really think of another band. If for fans of, it's kind of a tough one for me for Undertow. But you've got some. It's heavy without being metal. So if you like heavy music, then like if you like your hardcore heavy, it's going to work for you, without crossing that line into Pantera territory. Yeah. But then also sit down and like actually give it like an actual listen. And again, some of these lyrics are just like a gut punch, which is exactly what hardcore should be. It should make you feel something. And it does. So I definitely think this is a top tier should own.
Yeah, I'll go first. I felt the same, that it's definitely Believe the Hype. I'm not familiar with the band enough to say it was Illmatic, but like they definitely listening to you, they definitely had a lot of influence and stuff on, especially Seattle or Northwest area. And but I definitely like this is the first discography we've done, so there's a lot of songs to listen to and kind of rate. But man, the last 4 songs were my favorite, and that's the latest or whatever, the last stuff they did. And I really like that, man. That they did you could tell that the direction they were going just kept progressing from the track, from the early stuff to the end, which would be the opposite on the album. You know, from the last track on the album to the first track, if you went in reverse, they definitely like.
The last song is actually an Embrace cover. I don't know if you caught that or not, but Building, the last song is actually an Embrace cover. So it's the only cover they ever did was that Embrace song. Yeah.
No, I didn't even, yeah.
Yeah, they did that for a Trust Kill Records comp. Yeah. Only cover they ever did was that Embrace song. So.
But definitely a cool record. I like, it gets heavy without being metal. And I dug it out, and I'll listen to it again. Ryan?
Yeah, I definitely put it at Believe the Hype. Like I said, I'm amazed that I never gave this an opportunity before, because it's really cool. And yeah, I need to deep dive into it, but I really liked it, and it just makes me want to listen more.
That's awesome. I'm glad you guys like it. It's awesome.
Yeah. Always the Northwest, dude. Seattle, got all the cool guys, man. Cool bands.
Awesome.
This episode is sponsored by Another City Records. Pre-order Ill Communications' new record now at anothercityrecords.com. This 12-inch features Ill Communications remastered EPs, Ode to the Old Gods, and Death Threats and Hieroglyphics. Available now in 3 colors with either laser printed or silkscreen B-side. What's that you say? You don't collect vinyl? Well, they also have cassettes, hats, and shirts. Order now from anothercityrecords.com.
Ryan, you'll introduce the next record, since we've already talked about it on our failed
First attempt.
Me and you. So
So we went with the Restraining Order LP that's Triple B put out in 2019. This band is up and coming for sure. Like we talked about a little earlier, when it was just the 3 of us, I guess we weren't recording, but the first stuff they did was, there it is. It's got that cool Youth of the Day style.
Awesome cover, such a good cover.
Yeah, it's great. And the rest of the layout on the LP is really cool too. I wish I had it on me. It's at home, but the whole gatefold and everything. But
Undertow's a gatefold too. We did 2 gatefold records.
Oh,
perfect.
Nice. Yeah, I don't have. I gotta get it.
Yeah.
But there's something. This is definitely more leaning on the punk side of the spectrum with Restraining Order, but it's just enjoyable, man. It's just kind of a nice old style kind of hardcore, not so much the Youth Crew or the metallic stuff that's really popular. This is a record that I've been jamming quite a bit, and if anything, this is the record that got me really turned on to Triple B. Like, I needed to check out more of their stuff because I really like this record for sure.
John?
Yeah, I love this record. I saw Restraining Order, maybe it was Thunder Fury, I don't remember, but I thought they were absolutely amazing. I thought they blew pretty much every other band off the stage, and they got the 7-inch, and I pre-ordered the record as soon as it came out, and I've listened to it again. Like, here it is. I can't tell you how many times I've listened to it, but I listened to it so much, I think I kind of burnt myself out on it a little bit. So when you said we were doing this, I was actually like pretty stoked to go back to it again. And I just sat and gave it like a really deep listen. And like you said, Ryan, there's like a lot of like punk rock stuff. And I've been on like this 70s kick lately, like been listening to a lot of, Dead Boys and New York Dolls and stuff. Yeah. And as far as like the guitar work, I hear a lot of similarities. Like there is as much like Sex Pistols and like New York Dolls and like Johnny Thunders in a lot of the guitar work, just as much as there's as much of that as there is like SSD. and like Minor Threat.
Yeah. Dude, the songs are catchy too. They're
like, that's the thing. Every song, there's no skippable song. I mean, the whole record is like 15 minutes long, but it's one of those things. It's like everything is so like it's really cohesive. It's like it really feels like they sat down, like actually planned out an album instead of like just writing a bunch of songs and throwing them on there. Like one song really flows into the other one. That's something I really noticed. Like this actually plays like an actual album, not a collection of songs. And everything is like seriously like really catchy, but it's catchy, but at the same time, super pissed off. So it's like they were able to find like that happy medium with like, you know, we're really mad, but we're going to make you sing along. So it's like, it's a fun but angry record at the same time, which is like, honestly, that's how their live show comes across. So I know they remind me, I know this band gets a lot of hate, but Turnstile, like they're in just because they're so incredibly like having nothing, like not even talking about like the music because I don't like 311, but no, I actually don't dislike Turnstile, but as far as like energy level,
oh yeah,
Order's pretty high up there.
Yeah, I've seen Turnstile a few times, and they're definitely. If you went to a hardcore show and you saw that band play, you'd be stoked, dude.
Honestly, like that's what happened to me. Like I'd heard of them, but I hadn't heard them. And then within like a couple of minutes, like, okay, I'm a fan. Like I was into it.
Dude, yeah, for sure.
I've only ever seen a video of Restraining Order from that New Age Fest, and that was pretty cool. So
yeah, that might have been where I saw them. I honestly don't remember. No, because it was in a bigger place. I don't remember where I saw them. But it was in a bigger place. I feel like it was Sound and Fury or something like that. But I know that there were a lot of bands, and they were the only one I walked away remembering.
Nice.
I just don't remember where it was. So.
Yeah, I definitely dig them. They got a Slapshot vibe with the singy kind of like choke singing, like almost better and more catchy or catchy. Yeah. And I said it before, I think the singer sounds a little bit like Dave Bird to me from Striking Distance, like on his gnarly like growlier parts, which it's always awesome if you sound like Dave Bird. Not exactly like Dave Bird. There's only one Dave Bird, but
I'm really looking forward to seeing what they do next. Is given time to like just improve this, because this is already really good. I mean, but these guys are young, so given time to improve as songwriters and musicians. I'm curious to see if they keep going in this direction. And what they do with it, or if they kind of go off, if they do like a ceremony or like a like a Fury thing and go off in kind of a different direction, where they still sound like Restraining Order, but just doing something slightly different.
Maybe they'll go SSD, the way we rock.
Yeah, you can hope.
Just ruin it.
I'm like totally not trying to name drop or anything, but I was messaging. I was in like a group message with Al from SSD, and who I don't know. I don't know at all. I just found myself in this group message with him, and he made some comment about how like his time was like done in hardcore or something like that. I mean, other people are like, dude, what are you talking about? Like, there are still bands that are either directly or indirectly influenced by SSD, and this was the first band I thought of. So I sent him the download code from this record, and he was like super stoked on it. Again, like I'm not trying to name drops. I don't know the guy at all. Like that was my only interaction with him.
I'm jealous.
SSD, and I can. He was like super stoked. It was one of those things like he didn't want to admit that I can hear my band in this band. But he was still super stoked on it. So still pretty cool.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Well, let's go ahead and we'll rate this one. We're kind of getting short on time. Ryan?
For me, this one is also a Believe the Hype because like John said, it's one of those instances where it's like, I'm looking forward to see what they do next. And I really hope I get an opportunity to see this band live too, because I feel like it's going to be fun. But that's where I got it, is Believe the Hype for sure. What about you, John? Where you at?
Yeah, same. Believe the Hype. Absolutely. Yeah, definitely. Yeah, and I think if they continue, I mean, their next record could be in like Illmatic territory. Like if they continue like on this trajectory, like they could be like the band. They could be. It's one of those bands that could like change the world. They could be like. The next album, they could become like that entry point for like a whole new generation of kids. Like I definitely think they've got so much potential.
For sure. No pressure, guys. No
Yeah,
pressure.
none at all. No, none at all.
Yeah, I was wrestling when I first.
running on your shoulders.
I was wrestling with the Sure Shot, and then I'm like, then the more I listened, I'm like, man, this is just like straight up hardcore, like, and I love it. I was like, this is exactly what I want out of a band, and like, so I'm definitely believe the hype. Like I do. I think that there's more to come, and yeah, I never thought of like what you were saying. They could take a right turn, and I might like it or might not, or it might just be, like with Ceremonies, like, oh, that's cool. It's not what it was, but to me, like, I still dig those Ceremony records. They're cool, but
like they're so good at what they do. It's just they're consistently good at what they do, but what they do consistently changes.
Yeah, and so like so with this, it's like I definitely think that and I would like to see the next phase of hardcore. Right now we're kind of in that crossover, Mind Force, Dead Heat, like, which I love those bands too. But I mean, I'd be down if this was the next thing.
I like that hardcore has gotten, because it didn't always used to be this way. Every band sounded a certain way, but now it's like, you've got bands that sound like Restraining Order. You've got bands that sound like, Mind Force. And then, you've got bands that sound like Magnitude, and just all sorts of like different flavors. And it's awesome. And it's pretty good time for hardcore. Yeah.
Not that I want any of those bands to go away. And I wish that, I just hope everyone gets their fair share of hype and like their fair share of love, I guess. Not even hype, love of. People should like all those bands, dude. Everyone should be dying the new Dead Heat when it comes out, the new Traliate, whatever, the Be Well record, the new Tuning record, like all those. People should buy all those.
So I've absolutely got them all, and I think I hear a lot of people talking about old guys. I mean, I'm 44. I'm old enough that I don't know how old I am. Yeah. And I hear people talking about how like a lot of old guys like don't give new bands a chance. I love finding new bands, dude. I'm so stoked on Restraining Order, dude. I'm so stoked on Be Well, and I mean Change and Mind Force, and like so many awesome bands. Like just so much awesome. I'm checking like Triple B and I'm checking like record labels like every day for like the new pre-orders. So I mean, if you don't, you miss out on like awesome things, dude. I just love hardcore, and that goes back to this, Restraining Order. The Restraining Order album. It's hardcore. Like that's exactly what it is. It's hardcore. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, John, we appreciate you having come and talking to us, man.
Thanks, man. I appreciate you guys having me. It's fun.
And
absolutely,
for reals, man. Hopefully, we'll hang out soon. Whatever, if you want to come Tatch Beer, or from next time on Bakersfield, I'll hit you up, and we'll.
Absolutely, man.
We'll get together, man. But Ryan, you want to take us out?
Dude, yeah. Thank you again, John, for stopping in. And dude, keep listening to hardcore because it's good stuff.